Hello and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and we have so much in store for you on the show today. It's been a very eventful week. Top of the conversations that we've had this week is the verdict of the Presidential Elections Tribunal. The Presidential Elections Tribunal, and the verdict that they gave on the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But we'll get into that much later. Also, we've seen a recent hike in the school fees across different public institutions in Nigeria. And that leads us to the question, what is the hope for the common man? Can the children of the poor afford to go to school? With me in the studio to discuss education fee hike and the current economic realities is the student representative, Adeboye Ga Adeboye. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, I would like to know, how do students feel? So very recently, of particular mention, I think Unilag increased their school fees from 16 or about 20,000 to over 100,000, and that has sparked a lot of outrage across board. How do students feel? How do they feel with this increase across board, not just in University of Lagos, we also hear of increments in other federal universities as well?
Well, the major thing that has actually come to the mind of students is the fear of losing their access to education. That is the major fear, because the majority of students that are in the public institutions are low-income family sector, and it's not easy for us to really have access to education, even when we are still struggling with the 20,000, 19,000, and all of a sudden skyrocketing to 100 plus, 200 plus. So it's really a big problem for them losing access to education.
Okay, so what we're looking at and what we're trying to deal with is it's a system that, from the part of the university, they're saying that they can no longer cope with the current economic realities. Take, for example, Unilag. Their vice chancellor did say that they spent about 1.6 billion naira on only electricity alone. On the other hand, you see that I think for a couple of years now, ASU has been trying to fight for the government to actually increase the budget for education because education is underfunded. So the schools are saying that, yes, we're going to take the directive from the federal government, and because technically the federal government has said that there shouldn't be any increment, that education is still free, but the schools are saying that they don't have enough resources to keep running the schools, and now they want to transfer the burden on the students. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, that is where the students actually feel offended in the part of the school management, because as much as we believe that government is supposed to be funding education, which we have actually tackled them to do, and they've taken full responsibility to do that, there is still a responsibility of the university to always place the interest of their major stakeholders first, not putting the burden of their excesses on students because they feel they can do and undo. Now, for instance, the instance you made regarding University of Lagos management saying they owe a debt on electricity, it didn't just happen over the night. It didn't just happen over the night. And it didn't mean that the tuition fee of students stopped at any point in time. So that means there's some level of irresponsibility or a neglect by the management to have kept themselves from paying their bills, even when students kept on paying tuition fee over the years. So whose fault is that? It's your fault that you didn't pay the bills when you're supposed to, and it's accumulated. Now the problem, you are now putting it back on the student. That's not fair. That is what the students are actually living. It's not fair, because you feel you are the management, you can actually now decide on what you want to do as students, neglecting the fact that the fault is from you, not the students. That is the fact you are making. There is no year that students do not pay for tuition. So why didn't you pay your bills accordingly? It would not and would never have accumulated to that level. Obviously, there would have been a divertment of funds to another area or side funding. I don't know. I'm not part of the management, but that is what is the obvious reason for them to have accumulated such debt.
Now, let's look at the impact of this hike on families. Generally, most Nigerians are still dealing with the fuel subsidy removal. Minimum wage still remains at 30,000 naira. So take, for example, certain civil servants that earn, let's say, about 50,000 naira. Let's even assume that both parents are employed. It means that they are earning roughly like 100 to 110,000 naira. And if they have to pay tuition fee for just one child, not to talk of if they have 2 or 3 children, you see that this becomes really, really, really difficult. what impact do you think it's having on parents?
You see, that is actually the major problem, and that is more reason why you see a lot of student bodies like NANS and all other civil societies coming up with the protest of this is the major reason why we are saying you shouldn't do this. It's just inhuman. It's just as if the school management are insensitive. It's just practical. Okay, we are having a economic ovulation or whatever it is currently because there's a new structure of government in place. And still yet, that is when you now decide to say you want to start implementing increment of fees. Why don't you at least mitigate whatever situation that is there for a period of time? Or sit down and be strategic about the increment. Yes, we know things are expensive, but you have to be strategic. You cannot just decide and say, okay, all of a sudden from 19,000, students should be paying 195. That is not nice with the situation of things. For a civil servant that is earning, let's say, 50,000, 70,000, let's even go 70,000, and as a kid, that means he has to wait or collect more loans, decide on what to leave out from decisions in the house, on how to actually make ends meet for school fees. What about feeding? What about other things? What about clothing? What about sustaining the home? So these are the critical things that we feel the management, that's the more reason why we said it's not even the federal government this time. It's not even, because the presidency gave a directive when we made the noise that please hold on with the hike.
On the screen right now, you can see the Unilag students protest, and you can see there's a heavy presence of security operatives just to make sure that things do not escalate. It's a very serious situation, and a lot of students did report a bit of intimidation, infringing on their fundamental human rights to actually protest as provided by the law. The big question now is, how can we all come to a common ground? Because as we know, on the part of the lecturers and on the part of the school management, they're dealing with huge debts. On the part of the students, we're dealing with the fact that we cannot afford to actually pay for this school fees. So what exactly would happen? And let's not forget that some parents actually are incapacitated, and for some reason they cannot pay school fees for their wards. And some of these students are the ones doing menial jobs and trying to study and work at the same time. So for such students, what would be your advice right now, those that are really, really trying to work and study at the same time?
Well, we can only preach hope to them, and we can only say that we'll stand to actually make their efforts not be in vain, in the sense that you cannot be working extra hours when you're supposed to be studying because you want to meet up to more, because of the increment of your school fees, you have to do more work. And it's going to steal out of the time you're supposed to spend studying. So what is now the outcome of you working and studying when you are not going to have enough time to study? And that is why we are saying in their own best interest, we'll actually look for a way to reduce the stress from them for not going to work more just because they want to meet up to the hike in price. And that is why, for instance, one of the students that was at the protest that got a sponsorship, Tokwe, from Malo Services, we're saying that is one out of like 99%. But then we still call on social groups and companies to come to the aid of the school management this time. If they say they are incapable, then why don't you solicit? Why don't you form a merger? Why don't you reach out to private companies? Why don't you even reach out to alumni bodies of the institution to come to the aid of the management if you feel your utility bills are too heavy for you, a burden to carry? So we still believe that, yes, we'll still be covering for the interest of our students by agitating, because that is what we can pull to agitate and to actually tell, like coming to this public space to advocate for social societies and personalities that are philanthropists to really come on board into the management system to actually overhaul all of the stress that the management are saying is too much on them.
Right. Speaking of agitation, there were reports that there was intimidation during the protest. How true is this?
Well, yes. The particular protest that I held in Unilag, I was present there. And, as usual, we believe that police would always try in their best interest to protect the community. I would actually applaud the CP. Yes, he had the interest of students because we consulted him too regarding these hiking fees. And he gave us his support. That is CP of Lagos State. But, when it comes to protests like this, it's not all personnel that you see at the protest ground are of good intentions or are of real students.
So there was intimidation.
So there was intimidation. Some of our students were arrested. We had to advocate for their release later on. And then even along the line, we started hearing stories of the management trying to identify some students for one particular faculty and then trying to sanction them because they came to actually express their franchise, which we actually kicked against immediately, that if anything should go wrong, then they will answer.
I think the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos actually debunked that.
Yes, I saw the press statement, I saw the interview to myself, and well, thank God she has come publicly to make a declaration that the interest of those students is protected, that she supports peaceful protest, and she acknowledged that it was a peaceful protest. So we are sitting down in the same way that, okay, she has given her word, so there's no reason for us to be concerned or to be bothered about our student being sanctioned.
All right, so let's now talk about the ripple effects of what is going on. Say, for example, just for some reason, the old rates are not reverted. We have a major crisis at hand. The last time I checked, we had about 10 million out-of-school children. But recently, the UNESCO had come out and they said that right now, that number stands at 20 million out-of-school children.
We should expect more in the next few months.
And now we have an economy, we have a nation where we have a lot of people out of school. What is the implication?
Well, to me, it is life and direct. You see, a lot of students are already in the collapse of withdrawing out of school, going back to learn vocational trade because all of this. We've been dealing with, we have almost 1,000 applications soliciting for support from us that they can't actually sustain their school fees. So yes, be rest assured that the educational sector is going to suffer a lot of setback, and we are going to have even maybe triple the number of the statistics we have of out-of-school students right now because of this. Fine, the management in the school is saying that, okay, they are going to sustain it, but this thing is not sustainable if the right measures are not put in place. So yes, there's going to be a lot of student dropouts, and even the ones that are even in school, that we are student leaders, we are still struggling, that they should stay focused. We know this idea of school is calm, education is calm, and all of that. There is every justification for them to say it now.
So you're saying that the vices will also increase in terms of
obviously
internet
fraud and all of those vices. In fact, some of these students are already even instigating it, that maybe they should even scrap education and let them go and do something else, which is not something we want to do. And then the whole syndrome that is going on now, the jackpot syndrome. Some of our students are saying, why would I pay 200,000 for an institution in Lagos State or in Nigeria that will not even be effective or will not give me as much bonus, as much advantage, like putting that funds together and leaving the country to study abroad? So this is still going to bring problem to the holistic nation, to everybody as a nation, because by the time undergraduates start running away, postgraduate students start running away, then maybe the management themselves will be the students and will be the lecturer by themselves.
Okay, well, we're out of time. Any final words before we wrap up this segment?
Well, I'm just going to plead with all institutions across the country to please tend up to be considerate in all of these issues about increment. We understand and we know that the situation of the country is bad, but you have every mechanism to solicit for support, to mitigate your expenses, and to limit what you put money on. You cannot be putting money on unnecessary things while you leave the necessary things out of place. And we implore Mr. President to please come to the aid of Nigerian students to actually ensure that these fees are reverted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. And to you watching, let me reiterate that education is the passport to the future, because if we want to have a healthier, if we want to have a holistic nation, we have to ensure that we tender to our young ones, we tender to the students, because they are the future of this nation, all right? So that they don't end up getting into certain vices. It's still Rubbin Minds, and Rubbin Minds continue after this break. Stay with us.
And just give me some reaction.
Welcome back. This is Rubbin Minds. Before we went on the break, we were having a conversation about the school fees increment and what the implication is on the entire nation. And we're just really hoping that something will be done fast about it. Now we want to move on to one of the biggest conversations that we've had in the past week, which is the verdict of the presidential elections petition tribunal. The tribunal sat for over 11 hours, and the verdict has been given, and they have upheld the legitimacy of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right now, we want to talk about the takeaways from this particular experience. Even though the opposition parties and their candidates have said that they're going to take this particular issue to the Supreme Court, even as they respect the ruling of the current court that actually ruled on it. Let us just really reflect on what this means for the entire nation. Joining me from our Abuja studio is an APC chieftain in the person of Dr. Odiakpo Obire, and also a PDP chieftain, Honorable Idris Ibrahim Kalgo. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so I'm going to go straight to it. Dr. Odiakpo, please, what does this verdict mean for Nigerians at large?
It's a welcome development because it's been months that Nigerians have been expecting to see the judgment from the tribunal. So that the country can move forward positively. Election is not war. Politics, as I say, is science and it's not art. So the tribunal judgment, they were firm in their decisions. And if you look at the way the judges took their time to touch every point of the petitioners' petitions, you will see that you can even give it to the judges that they are actually doing a very thorough job. They did a thorough job. A verdict that took up to 11 hours. That shows that they didn't want to leave anything unturned. So it's a welcome development. After election is governance, and it is time for the country to move forward positively, because the judgment itself has shown that the people actually voted for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Why we celebrate our win, others should also celebrate their wins where they also won in the elections.
All right. Idris, you're on the other side of the divide. The judges actually took over 11 hours to talk on specific issues. How do you feel about their verdict on issues of electronic transmission of results, the BVAS, the IREF, and all of those issues?
Well, thank you very much. We have seen the tribunal judges trying to kill and bury democracy, but the PDP were law-abiding citizens, and we believe in judiciary. That is why our candidate Atiku Abubakar is going to Supreme Court now, because we believe we're going to get justice at the Supreme Court. Now you look at the judges who says beavers and IRF is not a must. That was what the judgment was all about. That's what they actually read. And then we did not say INEC should use this. The national chairman of the INEC says they are going to use beavers, transmit results via RF, from the polling units down to the center. So everybody can see it live. That was what we thought, like, okay, now we're going to have a transparent election by the INEC for the first time. But unfortunately, the INEC chairman just lied to us, because I would say he lied to about more than 200 million people who were watching him then, when he says INEC are going to use the beavers and then they're going to pass it through the RI. Imagine spending almost 400 billion naira on the beavers. So you see, you ask yourself a question, who is fooling who here? Because we fail to understand that this is what you said to us on a several times on the national TV. You said, this is what you guys are going to do. All of a sudden you change, and then you expect us to believe. There's no way we can believe you. It's just like, for example, as the head of a house, you tell your family, look, I'm going to buy a security door to lock our doors so that we won't get any bad people, thieves coming into the house. All of a sudden, you went and collect the money from the family members to buy a security door. And then all of a sudden, you refuse to buy a security door. You come back and put just cotton. So what do you expect? Do you expect the family people to believe in you again? Nobody will believe in you. That was exactly what happened. And the judges says it's not a must. So do you want us to believe the INEC chairman now? Do you think whatever he is going to say on the national TV or to us, we are going to believe him? No, because he lied to us. So these are all kind of the problems we are trying to make sure that we fix. INEC has been causing lots of problems in this country when it comes to the issue of election. They need to understand that Nigerians are tired. Nigerians voted for Atiku Abubakar. All of a sudden, they changed so many things. We see whereby the beavers are not working, but you come and tell me that, okay, it works for the National Assembly, and all of a sudden, the RF, you couldn't get anything for the RF for the presidential. What are you telling me? I don't understand.
Sorry to interrupt you, Idris. The judgment was mostly delivered on the backbone of the evidence supplied and also on the backbone of the Electoral Act, which, of course, was formed by the National Assembly. INEC and the issue of the use of beavers and uploading results to the IREV was a guideline that the INEC put out. Now, they are saying that, I mean, from what we got from the verdict, is that most of their judgment is based on the law, which is the Electoral Act. So do you think perhaps the Electoral Act needs to be amended? Is the Electoral Act a bit ambiguous? Because from the Electoral Act, it gives INEC the room to be independent and actually conduct elections as they deem fit.
Exactly. I think that would be better. Because if you are telling me that, okay, based on our evidence that we present to the court, to the judges, what happened to the almost 400 billion naira they collected for the beavers? Is it just for them to go and spend or share between them and their families, or what is it for? So if you are talking about the people choice, life of millions of people who came out to vote in masses, and then all of a sudden you say you have changed something after you have collected lots of billions of naira. You must do your work right. And then I think INEC is not, I don't think INEC is independent, because who appoints the INEC chairman? It's the president. So I think what we need to do is INEC need to be independent. If the presidency or the president is not the person that will elect or select or appoint the INEC national chairman, I think they should be among them at the INEC staff or anything. Well, I don't know how they're going to do it, but let it be something that's okay. This INEC chairman is going to be totally independent. He's being elected by either most of their staffs or the people, whatever we can do it. But let's make INEC independent as much as we can. Because you don't expect a president to appoint you as give you a job, and then all of a sudden you turn against him. That is why before the election, the then APC candidates, the president now, Bola Tinubu, says power is not given. You have to take it, run with it. So what does he mean by that? So we need to get all these things into our head, please.
Dr. Diakwo, how would you react to all of the things that the PDP chieftain has said in terms of how they feel about the verdict and also how independent INEC is? What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. You know, there's a saying that said, failure is an orphan. And there is no way, if your child is not prepared for an examination and he failed, then you are now blaming the invigilator that is the reason your child failed the examination. The issue is very simple. There are places where PDP, the Labour Party, the NMPP also won significantly. Is it not the same INEC that conducted those results that they accepted? They accepted the results they have. It's the same INEC. So why can't you also accept the results that others also have? It's a double standard thing. We have to stop this double standard thing in this country. If we must move forward, INEC, yes, they have the authority to conduct election. And they are the only one who can tell you that this is the authentic result that came out from this process. So when that happens, yes, certainly people are going to contest the outcome of the process. They must contest, and it is their right constitutionally to contest the results. But while they are contesting this result, they should also look at their own results. Take, for example, the Southeast. The Labour Party swept the entire Southeast. It's the same INEC that conducted that election. PDP swept a lot of places. It is the same INEC that conducted the elections where they won in these places. But INEC did well in those places. But where APC won, INEC didn't do well. The result is not right. This is double standard. Then when it comes to issue of INEC, whether they follow the process entirely. Yes, I will tell you that even in activities, you also have some little hitches here and there. Now, elections are not won at INEC office. Elections are not won in the IREV. Elections are won at the polling units where people voted. And it is mandatory that every political party have an agent at that polling unit. And at the end of the calculations, they call the result and they write the result, and every member of every agent sign that result, which means that every polling unit result is with every political party. So why are we waiting for IRF? This issue is really, I don't really get it, because you as a political party, you have the result, a copy of that result already, before when the electoral officer will use the beaver to snap and transmit that result. The same result, you have it with you, is the same result that is being transmitted. So I don't really see the difference between the result you have in your hand and the result that is being transmitted. And if I tell you that I'm going to call you tomorrow morning, and by tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., and I tried to call you, and there was no network on my phone, what will you say on your end, not hearing from me? You will say, oh, he promised to call me at 7 a.m., but he didn't call me. Dr. Obiri had lied to me. But when I get to see, I say, no, sorry. I tried to call, but there was no network on my phone. So these things happen. We all experience them. At the point of uploading results, if there are technical issues, there is nothing you can do about it. But at the end, these results were also uploaded into the IREV. So if they have a contest, they went to the Tribunal to go and challenge the results. Now, they were unable to prove that this polling unit, even one single polling unit, this is the result we have here, and this is what we were given. They were not able to prove these things. The law is blind. And It is what you present before it that they look at to give judgment. So if you are not able if you are not able to say this is or prove your case, there's no way you'll be able to get judgment. So it is left for them. Yes, it is their right to go to Supreme Court. It's not a problem. It's a welcome development. It's either we'll go to Supreme Court or we'll wait again till 2027. It's a normal thing. It's a court for everybody, and it's a welcome development.
Okay, Ojabo, I'm just going to be very direct with this. Will you say that the elections were free and fair and other parties shouldn't contest the results?
The election was not only free and fair, it was credible. And it was conducted within the ambient of the law.
Okay. Idris, you've heard some of the issues that Dr. Ojabo has raised, and I think one of the resolutions and one of the verdicts from the judges was that there was no substantial proof that INEC deliberately delayed uploading the results. How would you react to that?
APC are very good in complaining and also blame games. That's why you can even see them blame even the just previous governments with such so many things, bad recommendation. Okay, it's okay to understand what he means, but I don't understand by saying that the RF works for the National Assembly, but did not work for the presidential. I don't understand. Are they using the different network? Or what is it? All what we are saying is do justice. That is all what we are calling for. It's simple. We have seen it all around. We have seen the changes of how they make things change so many things. Now you come back and tell me that this is the fault of network. And you made promise which says that it's not going to be like this. We're not going to have any fault issue. We're not going to have any glitch, anything. But all of a sudden you come on the day of election telling us it's not working. How do you want us to believe that? And then you went back to see at the tribunal, who wrote the constitution of this country? Is it PDP or is it Atiku Abubakar or is it me? No. We have a constitution that we must respect. The constitution talks about 25% in the FCT as well. And these same judges swap it up and just turn it upside down and make it as if like it doesn't even exist. Does it mean like judges can just change our constitution just the way they like? Or is it because during the election, before they declare Asiwaju winner, the APC people were busy saying that we have won this election, go to court. You can do whatever you want to do. Was it because they're working hand in hand with the judiciary or what? These are the things that we need to understand. We have a certain precedent that says power is not given, power is taken. You have to snatch it, run with it. I don't understand if you understand the magnitude of what he says then. So are they now working hand in hand with the judiciary? Now they have snatched it, and now they are running with it with the judiciary backing them up? So these are things that are very worrisome for us, we the PDP people. And then we need to understand that. And Nigeria also need to understand they have the right to know.
All right, Idris. Dr. Obiakpong, whether we like it or not, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Nigeria is one nation. And right now, it seems like we have a bit of a divided nation, and some people are of the school of thought that there's a trust deficit. Irrespective of what the ruling is, there's a trust deficit in the sense that INEC promised certain things and they were not able to deliver on all their promises. How do you think the presidents can be able to, not just unite, also make sure that everybody's interests is covered, considering the current circumstances that he does not necessarily have the support of all Nigerians?
Well, what you must know is that the president is not the president of APC. Political parties are just like vehicles that convey people into a particular office. So the office of the president is a destination for that vehicle. The APC, the PDP, the other parties, They are vehicles going to the presidency, and they have one passenger they carried. Now, the issue is some on the way might have punctured tires, some on the way might have overheating of engine, some on the way might, and one must get to the destination. And in the process, APC arrived at the destination. Now, getting into that office, the APC vehicle is parked outside. What the president has gone inside the building to go and work for the entire country. Now, Asiwaju is somebody that everybody know that is a compassionate person, is someone who believes in a teamwork, someone who wants to drive the country not on his own mindset, but as a listening president. We have had series of issues within the past 100 days where some things are brought into the public domain, and the president listened to them and take it back. So it's a very simple person as a president of this country. And I know that if the PDP and other political parties have seen and accept the judgment of this tribunal, let us all come together. We can all come together. It's our country. We come together and put heads together, help the president, and drive the country positively. Right. Some of these issues we are complaining about now about INEC can be addressed within this period.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojapbo, and a very big thank you to Honorable Idris. Just in 30 seconds, Honorable Idris, your candidate is going to the Supreme Court. So what should Nigerians expect? 30 seconds.
Thank you. Atiku Abubakar is heading to the Supreme Court, and we are also expecting our judgment from the Chicago State University. Nigerians should ask themselves a question. We have a president whom almost everything, education, age, is questionable. The question is, why is he assigning lawyers to stop Atiku from getting his certificate from the State University of Chicago? It's a big question we should all ask ourselves. What is he hiding?
All right, Idris, we're sadly out of time.
Let's all be law-abiding citizens and then understand that we believe at this time around, the Supreme Court judges are going to do justice.
Thank you very much, Honorable Idris, and a big thank you to Dr. Ojapbo. Rubbin Minds continues after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Rubbin Minds. We've been having such a great time on the show. Earlier on, we discussed the school fees hike, and also in the second segment, we talked about the verdict of the Presidential Elections Petition Tribunal and the implication and what it means for the entire nation. And right now, we're about to move into something really, really important. It's one of the major issues that our country is facing, which is what we call the Japa syndrome. We're having mass migration of a lot of talented Nigerians into other countries. And since time immemorial, Nollywood has always been the platform where we can really share these stories, express and tell our true, authentic Nigerian story. And one producer, one individual, of course, with her team and also her collaborators have decided to take it upon themselves to tell the Japa story and what it means, and the implication of the Japa story on the nation. With me, I have the producer of the movie Kanani, Jennifer Mario. I hope I got it right. Kanani?
You sure did. Yay. You got the job. After that introduction, I'm like, okay, yes, let me go home. I'm good.
Okay, so this is a really, really serious issue. Tell me, what inspired that storyline? Did you have a personal experience? What do you have to say about the Japa culture right now?
Okay, yes, thank you for the question, and thank you for having me. I'm excited. Well, what inspired the story? So I didn't write the story, but I was definitely, it was part of our idea to get the whole Japa concept together. I have lived in the US for the past 2 decades, so I definitely have a concept of, okay, I come up for Nigeria, I know they live for Nigeria. But more than anything, I didn't go there under the circumstances that we would see in the film, which is more so a human trafficking kind of angle. I think it's important for young people, most especially, to know that even though the jackpot trend is, funky and it seems like, hey, everyone should be on top of it because of what's happening in Nigeria, so to speak, I feel like it's important that they are careful, that they are well informed about the decisions they're making to that effect, so that they don't end up like the, main character in the film.
Okay, okay. Also, I've noticed, like I told you earlier when you walked into the studio, the film looks so good,
Oh, thank you.
And I've also noticed that, you focused on really casting actors that are extremely talented in the craft. And there's been a big conversation around casting in movies these days, that producers tend to opt for actors with more numbers as they feel that those actors are going to sell the film, as opposed to casting actors that are really into the craft.
The creativity, yeah.
The creativity, and with the cast members that you have, it seemed like you focused less on actors that had numbers. Not like those actors don't have numbers,
correct.
But like you didn't focus on the virality of certain actors, but you wanted people that can deliver, the character Bible.
Yes, that's yes, you're absolutely correct. For us, it was very important to tell the story as opposed to just push numbers. Of course, I'm a filmmaker. This is a business. Of course, I want to make money from all of this stuff. However, I feel like it would be a disservice to my craft to just focus on, the popularity. After all, the people who are popular should be them first act one before them blow, right? For us, in fact, we noticed later on that we were getting a huge reception from the Esan, Edo, Bini community. When we went into filming, we didn't really think to ourselves, oh, let's do Esan or Bini. We just wanted the story to be authentic. And that's what it became. It just so happened. So shout out to everybody in Nigeria and the Edo people. I'm not Edo, neither is my partner, who is the director, Tola Olatunji. Isoko, he's Yoruba, but it just kind of made sense. And for us, the message was more important than the genge, even though we want some genge, if you know what I mean.
I totally understand. And very recently, we've seen that just like music, the Nollywood industry has also become one of Nigeria's major exports. And we did notice that you traveled a bit around the world before you set a date for the cinema release. Why?
Oh my God, you have to go there. In fact, we just had a major screening of the film last night in Miami. We had U.S. Congress people and the commissioner for the city of Miramar all present, all working with us. I think it's more so because of the message in the film. And I don't want to give too much away. We did travel, we'll still be traveling. And for us, we wanted to do things a little bit differently. It's not just, hey, there's a film, let's go out. We want to bring, how do I say this? Okay, so we know that Nollywood, like you said, it's kind of growing, and it's, we're doing a lot of big things now in Nollywood. But when my partner and I came here to shoot Kenani, for us, we wanted to learn a little bit of how filming is done in Nigeria, but we're also proud to be able to bring like our, the DOP and the lighting guy and our editor, they're all from the US. They're our team in the US. And, even when some of the people who worked on the set, like Mecca, Bayo, whoever, and other people, they're like, oh my God, we learned so much from, your American crew. And, nobody say, we know they try for here, but we saw some other things that we are not used to. So for us, it's kind of like, yeah, like, we want to do more collaborations like that. We don't have all the answers, but we definitely saw when we were working that there's some areas that we can still grow. And I know funding is an issue, manpower, and just technicalities are other things that need to be considered. But we're happy that at least with this film, filmmakers can be like, okay, yeah, these people, then they try. Maybe we can collaborate with them in the future.
Right. I think it's really important that we collaborate as much as we can, because it looks like half the time the industries, it's more competition as opposed to collaboration. And I like the fact that you were able to bring people from outside of the country, not necessarily because our people aren't talented, but it's just what we call knowledge transfer.
Very good.
Just the same way some of our doctors and some of our very learned people
have
just
jackpot.
leave the country and they are now investing their knowledge and their skills on another country. So please, I think I would encourage you to bring more people to invest their knowledge in this country, and I think it's really phenomenal.
Amen. Do you wanna act sometime?
I am an actor.
Oh, my
yes.
my apologies.
No. No,
So,
it's fine.
listen.
I do a lot of things, you know. So,
Okay,
so
yes, I like
it's
it.
okay when people think, you know,
You're
I'm just a
only
TV
a TV
presenter.
person,
It's like
okay.
Jamie Foxx, you know, he's a comedian, actor.
It's 100 things.
But this is not about me.
Okay,
It's
yes.
about Kanani.
Yes, got
It's
you.
about Kanani.
Yes.
Also, I think we need to, there's a conversation that is going around, and it's not just in Nollywood. Take, for example, I'm just going to give an example with the recently concluded Headies that happened in, I think, Atlanta. And a lot of Nigerians were saying, why would you take a Nigerian music award show abroad as opposed to doing it in Nigeria? And from the Headies team, they are just trying to bring the rest of the world to Nigeria in close proximity. How important is it for us to make our presence more felt in in other parts of the world physically, and not just on streaming platforms? Because if we release it in Nigeria, obviously if it's a global release, other countries will watch it. But how important is premieres, screenings
and things like that
in other countries? How important is it?
That's a very interesting question, because I used to be of the opinion that, oh wow, we hustling so hard to be known or to be acknowledged by the abroad people. But to be honest, just like in the film line of things, Nollywood is growing, but Hollywood is Hollywood. Let's be real. We're not there yet. So it's important that whenever Headies or whatever you're talking about, you know, when they go abroad or when we have those partnerships, I don't think it's a bad thing, but as long as we are true to what the mission is. I usually talk about motivations a lot. What's motivating your move? What's motivating while you're doing it? But if you're waiting solely for acknowledgement or credibility, or if you feel so abroad people never join the thing, then you never blow, then you'll probably be sad, because you probably never be able to mimic them 100%.
Right.
That's my take.
Okay, let's talk about distribution now. That has been one of the major issues we've had in the industry. So Nollywood has been evolving. Initially, it has
You're definitely grilling me. Oh my God.
So we used to have the marketers. We call them the Alaba marketers, right? So the VCD era, and then we've moved on to that to the satellite era, you know, and now we're in the streaming era. So we've got Netflix, got Prime, we've got YouTube, you know. Most producers are still complaining that they cannot break even. And the reason why they are not bringing the quality of films that Nollywood deserves is because their resources are limited. And eventually, by the time they push in money into it, they don't recover as much. So
what is your question?
My question is, how do you think we can sort of break even when we invest heavily into certain projects? Because it's hard.
Yes. Ooh, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if I should give you the political response or the true response. Well, I think if the story is good, when I mean good, don't just, like you said, combine a bunch of celebrities and throw them in a film. I think it's embarrassing. I'm just being real. I think that if the story is really good and is casted well, and if you're able to maybe get, like, you have an opportunity to work with people like us who can present the film to the abroad people that maybe have dollars, that when they change it, it will... That is so bad.
No, it's good.
You know, I'm just saying, if the story is really good and you collaborate internationally with people who have love and, you know, passion for the craft, I think that there's a chance to actually make the kind of films we want to make in Nigeria. I genuinely believe that, because that's what we did with Kanani. I can't believe how far we went with it. Now, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done that.
What was the biggest thing you did that you can't believe?
The biggest thing?
Or maybe one of the biggest
One of the big
challenges.
ones. Okay, of course, it cost us quite a lot to bring the crew from the US. I mean, of course, the Nigerian crew now, they helped. They were a part of the project, but, you know, flying about 4 or 5 people from the US, their insurance and all those, all that stuff, of course, that one day one side. Then because it was happening during COVID, we filmed in 2020. We were doing literally COVID tests every 42 hours, every 2 days on set for everybody, and the crew was in the hundreds.
Wow.
So yeah, it dealt with us.
All right. The Lord is a strength.
Amen.
And I pray He does great numbers. Do you think we have a shot at the Oscars this time around?
You see, that's the thing about interviews. You don't know the one that you say that will jabber you, that will not jabber you. You don't know, you're trying to keep it safe, but I would definitely say yes if we're going off of the strength of the film, the level of creativity and the professionalism and all that was put into it, I dare say.
All right. So, when is the premiere? When are we going to enjoy it in the cinemas?
Premiere, are you coming?
Of course.
Oh, yes.
I'm number 1 on the guest list.
Oh my God,
Daniels.
I love it. Premiere September 14th, which is Thursday, and in cinemas from the 15th, which is Friday, the day after.
All right. Thank you so very much.
You're
And guys,
so welcome.
please, let's all watch Kanani. It's been a wonderful session right here on Rubbin Minds. I believe that you've totally enjoyed yourself, just as I have, and just as our guests have. I'd like to say a big thank you to all my guests that graced the show today. My name is Hero Daniels, and I'll leave you with this. We are what we continually do. Therefore, excellence is not an action, but a habit. Stay excellent.